is Terry Bradshaw, quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
This is baseball, Major League Baseball. And this is
ABC's Monday Night Baseball.
June 28th, 1976 is the date, and Bowie Kuhn, the former MLB commissioner, is on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And 50 years later, he's the subject of part of our show, the Past Our Prime podcast. Bill Mahoney and Mark Hoffman once again join me, Scott Johnston. Hey, guys, pretty pumped to talk about Bowie Kuhn?
Oh, I am.
But he was, I mean, honestly, his tenure with just the A's alone was an interesting tenure. I remember him as a kid. That was one of the first commissioners, and he always seemed to be laying down the law on somebody.
Yeah, he wasn't Mr. Excitement, but
no,
he had a
hammer, though, man.
Yep, he had a major factor.
Yeah, he did.
But can you imagine today an owner making a trade and the commissioner coming up and saying, nope, you can't do that?
You know, Mark, I was thinking about that. The last commissioner that I remember actually doing something in a deal in any league was the one with Chris Paul when they were Lakers,
where the NBA nixed
they moved him to the Clippers. That's the last one. That I don't think could happen today.
Right, and Laker fans still blame the commissioner for them not getting Paul, and they would have won all these more extra titles.
Yeah, that's the last one. Because in baseball, I mean, you can trade 50 guys for Paul Skeens, or you can give Paul Skeens to the Angels for a couple A-ball guys. They would never say anything.
Yeah, that's true. A lot to get to, including more on the Bowie Kuhn situation, as well as the U.S. Open from 50 years ago. And we say goodbye to both the ABA and Smokin Joe Frazier. Who knew? But let's get to the scorecard first, shall we? Billy, Lee Corso, one of the favorite TV guys in college football for years and years and years. But as a coach,
I think we all have a little bit in this. But Indiana football, that's where Lee Corso was coaching back there in 1976. I was just looking at his record. Now, mind you, this is basically about how crowds at the other schools, or the teams at other schools, Nebraska, Ohio State, and Michigan, want the Hoosiers to move their games to their stadiums in lieu of Indiana because the crowds are better and they'll make more money, which is somewhat not surprising since Corso in his past 3 years has been 2-9, 1-10, and 2-8-1. I know they can't move it to another stadium, but man, I can understand why teams wanted to do that.
5-27 total.
Oh.
And that one tie. Don't forget that one tie.
Yes.
But let's also say he does have a historical factor in Indiana football. He led them to their first bowl win in school history in 1979. So he's got that. Right, but it only took like seven straight losing seasons to do it. So
yeah, it's so funny to think of it because Indiana football now is the king of college football right now.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, they would make a bowl game here or there, but it was a basketball school. It was never a football school. And in the mid 70s, I mean, they were averaging 35,000 fans a game. That's it, and it just wasn't a top priority there. But it's just amazing. And granted, 50 years is a long time, but it really wasn't 50 years. It's only been in the last few years that all of a sudden Indiana's become this juggernaut.
Didn't they only have like in 80 years, like 3 winning seasons? I mean, it wasn't like this, and nothing. You look at when Corso came to Indiana, what was he? He had done real well his final year at Louisville. He was like 9-1 or 10-1. So, obviously hiring was a good move, at least at the time. But boy, Lee Corso sure was good on TV.
And here are the 3 best records, in the history of Indiana football,
Yeah.
Obviously, this past season, they go 16-0 under Curt Cignetti, Prior to that, their best season was 1945. They won the Big Ten under Bo McMillan. They went 9-0-1, After 45, the next time they won the Big Ten Conference, 1967, under John Pount. They won 9-2, and they lost in the Rose Bowl to USC 14-3. Those are the only 3 times they've won the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit. Charlie Finley, a one-man chaos machine. On the same day, he sold 3 of his best players for cash. He was personally working the phones trying to re-sign the ones he hadn't sold yet and consoling the ones he had and blaming everyone's agent for his own mess. He's a man of of contradictions. He tells Vida Blue, I love you, buddy. We couldn't have won 3 straight world titles in one breath. And in the next, admitting he let the Yankees tell Vida Blue that he had been sold. So we'll have more of this coming on when we talk about Bowie Kuhn and how he intervened. But Charlie Finley saw that free agency was coming, saw that he wasn't going to pay these guys, and was like, I am going to make some money and start selling these guys off. And the dynasty was, I mean, a dynasty never ended so quickly as that A's dynasty. They win their 3rd straight World Series in 74. They win their 5th straight AL West title in 75. Finish a couple games back this year in 76, but he could see it coming. And then 77, 78, 79, they lose like 100 games a season. So
Yeah, the wheels came off, man.
yeah, the wheels got sold off.
Yeah.
They said it and meant it.
They said it. Mark, Andre the Giant had some great lines in The Princess Bride. What did he say here?
He's a 460-pound wrestler, and people today just remember him from The Princess Bride. Now, this is really interesting because he says, I eat about 3 times as much as the average person. When I go into a restaurant, I order 3 courses, but I ask the waiter to stagger the meals so they won't get cold. So
there's a reason that he was a giant.
yeah, that's right. I'll have the filet mignon. Then an hour later, I'd like to send me the prime rib. And then an hour after that, the Dover sole, okay? Because I want to eat light at the end, okay? Thank you.
It just doesn't help you when your last name is the Giant.
Yes.
Right.
Hey,
That's
Bill,
true.
how big are you? I'm a giant.
Yes.
Bill the Giant, you know?
The documentary on him is fascinating. He would, his drinking stories of him having like 60, 70 beers a night, it was just unbelievable.
Did you see the picture with him when he's holding a beer in his hand?
Yeah, it looks like
It was like a shot glass. I kept thinking, is that a normal, whatever, 12-ounce beer, whatever? It just looked like a shot glass in his hand. I can see why he had 80 of them.
Yeah. Quite a character in the wrestling world. Bill.
Mark Belanger, you know him as the Baltimore Orioles shortstop. Well, he's criticizing umpire Russ Getz. He said, how could he be doing his job when he didn't throw me out of the game after the things I called him?
Right?
I think we have an idea what he might have called him.
Yes.
My connection to Mark Belanger is one day, this was in the 1980s, he was on the Dodgers, sort of a backup shortstop, and I'm leaving the ballpark after doing post-game interviews, and this fan comes up to me and say, can I get your autograph? Who are you? And I go, nobody. And he goes, what's your name? And I go, Mark. He goes, Mark Belanger? And I go, that's a true fan that he would be excited about a Mark Belanger autograph.
Yeah.
Now you think Belanger might be the last of the shortstops that they allowed to hit under 200.
Yeah, he was certainly.
Remember those days, catchers and shortstops could always, you could have that low batting average.
Yep, Gold Glove shortstop.
Yep,
but was not a hitter at all.
Nope.
We had a mutual friend, Brad Gold, who used to go out and tell the lady folks that he was Mark Gruzelonic.
Oh, there's a guy to name yourself after.
Yeah. Larry Herndon, San Francisco Giant outfielder, after a ground ball skipped through him for an error in Candlestick Park, said, I have a large glove and it's very loose. The winds swirl out there and they closed my glove. So, the wind's playing havoc on Larry Herndon. And as I mentioned to you guys once before, I've been to many, many baseball games. I've caught one home run ball as a fan, and it was off of the bat of Detroit Tigers outfielder Larry Herndon. After
I was just about to say, can't remember.
Yeah, Mark, give him your Tiger Herndon story. He was a good player on that team.
Yeah.
He was, but they had Chet Lemon and Kirk Gibson on that team. They had a lot of outfielders on that team, and there was a 4th outfielder I'm trying to remember on that team. They had to rotate him around.
Well, it'll come to you, and I didn't catch that 4th one's home run, so I don't care.
No,
yeah, that's right.
But he did bounce out in 1976 on August 2nd.
Yes, twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once to third, once to short.
Yep. Very simple 5-5-5-3, but he did.
You were great, Jerry Pate. Jerry Pate, a 22-year-old rookie, won the U.S. Open by pulling off one of the greatest closing shots in championship history, a 5-iron from the rough, 190 yards over water to within 2 feet of the pin on the 72nd hole to birdie his way to a 277 total. I think that was 3 under par, and he wins the U.S. Open. And Mark, he's 22 years old, and this was his best ending ever for a tournament.
Yeah, we talk about peaking early. 22 years old, you win the U.S. Open. That's the only time he won a major. He did tie for third at the Masters in 1982, and he finished second at the PGA Championships in 1978. But that was as close as he ever came to winning another major. He ended up with 8 PGA Tour wins. I think he played in Japan, won a couple titles there, and on the senior tour. But his his highlight, his big moment in the sun came at a very, very early age.
Yeah.
And he was an amateur champion too. He was in 1974, the U.S. amateur champ.
Yeah. Imagine that. 22 years old, and you just break onto the scene and you win. No one's heard of you. And the next thing you know, you're beating Tom Weiskopf and Jack Nicklaus and winning the U.S. Open. Unbelievable. But Billy, poor John Mahaffey.
Yeah, well, let's go back. First round leader was Mike Reed. He's a 67. Second and third round leader, John Mahaffey. Reed fell off. Mahaffey did not. He came into the final round 2 strokes ahead, but he fired a closing 73, and it didn't help that he hit his final shot into the water. So he ended up finishing in 4th place behind Pate, old Geiberger, and Tom Weiskopf.
Yeah, here are his 8. By the way, Pate, here's his 8 wins. Okay, U.S. Open, his first win. Think about that. Your first win on the tour is the U.S. Open. And then he won the Canadian Open that same year. Then the next year he won twice. Then in 78 won once. Then in 81 he won twice. And then in 82 he won once, and that's it.
As for Mahaffey, Billy, he loses this one tough, and the year before he lost in a playoff defeat. So
You should look him up and see what his final records are. I think he actually won some majors. That name sounds familiar, at least.
Pate asked if he was sure he had 2 putts to win. Responded similarly, well, I can make this putt anyhow. And he did. He becomes the youngest U.S. Open champion since a 22-year-old won it in 1962. A 22-year-old, Jack Nicklaus.
I can tell you what, there's no one out there spending 15 minutes on Jerry Pate. I love it, though. I love these things because now we won't forget him. Even if whether he becomes a guest of ours or not, we know our Pate.
Jerry Pate is ingrained in our minds forever.
I love JP, just like I like Chris Everett the horse.
Bowie stops Charlie's checks. We get to our cover story. Hours before the June 15th trading deadline, Charlie Finley, the owner of the Oakland A's, sells Vida Blue to the Yankees for $1.5 million and Joe, Rudi, and Rollie fingers to the Red Sox for $1 million each, the biggest sale of players in sports history. And this is one of those things where I think all 3 of us, even though we were, just kids, we remember this. This was a big, big deal. This really shook not just sports, but the other leagues were kind of looking around going, hey, what, are we going to be able to do something like this? And the commissioner, Bowie Kuhn, intervened.
Yeah, I think Kuhn saw it as he didn't want to open this Pandora box, because if you let this slide, what's going to be next? What's going to prevent Finley from doing something else, or another owner from doing this and just giving up and stuff like that? So,
but I do wonder if let's say the Yankees and Red Sox included, let's say, a rookie ball guy, 2 of them, would he have vetoed the deal?
Right.
Like money and a player. Was that the only difference? Was that the only breaking point? You didn't get anybody other than Doe?
I think that was a key, that it was only, there was only money involved. I mean, look at the flack that Nico Harrison of the Mavericks took when he traded Luka Doncic in a very lopsided trade to the Lakers. And he took so much flack, and at least there were 4 players and some draft picks involved in that. I mean, here, you're getting nothing but money, you know. it stinks.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is that we talked about this yesterday, that Joe, Rudi, and Rollie Fingers were already in Red Sox uniforms.
I know.
They
So
were already in the clubhouse in uniforms, and Joe Rudi had spent a bit of time back in the A's clubhouse crying with all his guys.
yeah,
And who knew he'd be back there in a day?
yeah. So the A's, I think, were in Boston playing the Red Sox, so it was easy for them to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not talking about like this was in theory. These guys put on Red Sox uniforms and thought of themselves as Red Sox for a good 24-hour period or so. So
Yep.
Kuhn blocked all three deals, invoking a 1921 rule allowing him to act in baseball's best interest, and sent all three players back to Oakland. Finley called Kuhn the village idiot and threatened federal court, while Billy Martin, who thought he had his dream rotation locked up, cracked, "I'm pitching Bowie tomorrow. Is he right-handed or left-handed?" So you're talking about major chaos in the baseball world. I think his real concern was kind of what we have now in the big market versus the little market, is that the smaller market teams, Oakland, is just going to sell off their players to the bigger market teams, and you'd have this huge disparity amongst teams. But like I said, we have now, at least now, it's somewhat authorized, I guess. They allow it, but you can't do what Charlie Finley wanted.
And that's why there'd be a lot of labor issues starting, with baseball, and
Yeah, December.
yeah, and then in the early 80s, it all started, no one would have ever believed that parts of seasons could be stopped,
Yep.
and this was just the tip of the iceberg.
And that brings us to the next article, which is on a 32-year-old agent by the name of Jerry Kapstein. I do not remember him, but to refresh your memory, he was basically the Scott Boras of baseball agents in the mid-70s. At one point, he represented 18 of the 58 unsigned free agents in baseball, including Rudi, Fingers, Fred Lynn, Carlton Fisk, and Bobby Grich. So 32-year-old guy wielding all sorts of power back in the day.
Here's a guy that also was the CEO of the Padres and held executive positions with the Red Sox. So he was moving around. Scott Boras has not done that as of yet.
No, he runs baseball in a different way.
Yes.
I mean, you guys have been to the winter meetings when Scott Boras holds his press conference, and it's not major league endorsed. So he just gets in a hall.
Yep.
And I mean, the Cubs can make a trade and they have a press conference, and it's crowded. And the Yankees can sign somebody and that press conference is crowded. When Scott Boras talks, it is bonkers crowded. It
Eight deep. Eight deep of people of 8 rows deep.
Yeah. It's like being in a mosh pit.
People
almost.
stand on chairs everywhere just to get a shot. But Scott, you and I did in the Nashville winter meetings, sat next to him at a Fridays.
That's right. And his whole entourage.
Yeah. We so much wanted to go up and talk, but we didn't. He was right next to us.
Yeah.
I can just remember some of the winter meetings around the Christmas tree. Yeah. And it would just be, I took the pictures, like you couldn't even get up close to him and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting though about Kapstein? He tried to run for Rhode Island lieutenant governor in like 2010. Didn't make it, but he had, political aspirations. And the other interesting thing, who he was married to, he was married to Linda Smith, the daughter of Padres owner Joan Kroc.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Marriage ended after 18 months.
Yep.
So it must not have been true love.
It was true love.
Yeah, it was. They loved each other so much that they dumped each other.
Yeah. He got the job of CEO of the Padres and was like, "You're out of here."
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good times by a gang of cut-ups. We are getting really close to the 1976 Summer Olympics, and lots of amateurs to talk about, including the swimmers. Mark, we had Bruce Furnace on, last August, I think, one of the best swimmers in U.S. history, and he's going for joining the 76 Olympic team after winning gold in 72.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many stories in this competition. I mean, so many great stories. I mean, U.S. has always been an incredible factory for swimmers and stuff like that. You know, John Neighbor, who we've had on, and the elusive Tim Shaw, who no one can get to talk. And there's so many such interesting stories and stuff, and Shirley Babashov, on the women's side. The dry this I want to say the 70s almost feels like the heyday of U.S. swimming, because you think of Mark Spitz and you think of all these people
Yeah.
and stuff.
But Mark, I know you've done a lot of research on Joe Bottom. So talk to me. What did you think about his performance there?
Joe Bottoms.
He won the 100-meter butterfly, buddy. We talked about this.
I bottomed
Bottoms
out when we
Yeah,
got to the
none of us
100-meter
know anything
butterfly.
about most of these swimmers. I'm not going to lie. We know Bruce Furnace because he was on our show. John Neighbor was Opie, and I don't know Joe Bottom and Brian Goodall, but we all know about Tim Shaw. So I mean, we do know about him because Scott almost got arrested for harassment.
Say again?
Get Shaw as a guest.
Oh, yes. Hey, look, we have a very high success rate. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. And what happened is we didn't get Tim Shaw, who was on the
Got
cover
Furnace.
of that magazine, and we got Bruce Furnace, and he was fantastic.
He was still great.
So that works out just well. Shaw rallied to finish second to 17-year-old Brian Goodell, as you mentioned, in the 400 free, who broke Shaw's world record by 0.23 seconds. Both qualified for Montreal. And you're right, Mark. It truly was a great the 70s and 80s. And of course, you then had Michael Phelps and stuff.
Right.
But those 84 games in LA with Rowdy Gaines and that swim team, we have just been a factory for swimming. And Shirley Babashov, a one-woman wrecking crew, 4 American records across multiple distances while eating a turkey sandwich and a pint of milk just 45 minutes before a race. So she could do it all, and she was getting the protein inside her as well to fend off those East German women. So,
but she won all the trials. She won all events she was at the trial.
Right?
All 5, she won.
If I ate that and got into the water, not only would I not finish the race, but they'd have a cleanup in aisle 2.
You have to empty the whole pool then, Mark.
Exactly.
It's like in Caddyshack.
Exactly.
Doogie!
All right, Mark. Bill and I are going to step away while you do your ad. And you'd think that Mark was a 2-pack a day kind of guy with all his cigarette ads that he
Or
talked
hitting them in the eye with Tarrington's.
Well, my mom was a heavy smoker, and I used to have to go to the supermarket with her and buy her cigarettes. So, when I was actually 13 or 14, I would steal cigarettes from my mom and smoke them because I thought it'd be cool. But then I got into like running and stuff, and I didn't like the smoke in my lungs and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, the ad that I want to talk about is for L&M cigarettes, which I don't think exists anymore. And it says, "The proud smoke, product of a proud land. Tobacco. It's as proud and a part of the American tradition as Mount Rushmore." And I'm going, Mount Rushmore smoking cigarettes. I don't see the connection. What struck me about the ad is one of my favorite trips I took 3 years ago was going to Mount Rushmore. I specifically wanted to go to South Dakota to see that because I think everyone should see it. To me, it's one of the, whatever you want to call it, 8 wonders of the world, or in America, at least to me, it's one of the 5 major wonders that everyone should go see.
I would like to.
L&M cigarettes are still around, Mark.
Are they?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You can get the classic full flavored option. That's the red. Or you can get the blue, the smooth, lighter alternative. There's the menthol one, which is green. That's the standard mint variety. And they're also available in king sizes and 100s.
Wow. There you go. Thank you.
Now that's an ad.
Now that's what we need to do. And now we need to start smoking.
And Bill, if we were born in the 40s like Mark, we would have been robbing liquor stores of cigarettes to feed our mother's dirty habit. So
that's right. That's exactly right.
Not nearly as sweet as he looks. Frank Fuhrer, the Pittsburgh Triangle's owner, refused a league-arranged schedule change to lead Yvonne Goolagong to a Bristol Myers tournament threatening World Team Tennis president Larry King with a punch in the face over it, even though Boston had already agreed to the same request. Bill, this guy, Frank Fuhrer, was
George Steinbrenner of tennis. He would yell at all his players. And then there was 3 girls he had on their team. They say he yelled at him so hard they left crying. Yeah, Frank did everything possible he could do to win. And obviously he did have some success there, but boy, he was a rough customer.
Yeah, yeah. Those Pittsburgh Triangles, man, they dominated WTT tennis. I mean, 92-40, that's almost a 700 winning percentage. And he was big in the Pittsburgh community with sports and other kind of business ventures. But I hope the pronunciation of his name is not Fuhrer, because that has a lot of bad connotations.
Yeah.
It is
probably
Fior.
Value, yeah. He did stuff to help keep the Pittsburgh Pirates in town, because the Pirates, I guess, in the mid '90s were thinking of leaving Pittsburgh, which would have been a shame.
Yeah, it's a strong Fior. That's what it's Fior. Fuhrer. Frank Fuhrer.
Passed away just four years ago at the age of 96.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they say only the good die young. He signed both Yvonne Goolagong and Ken Rosewall in a single trip, and also signed Goolagong's guardian, Vic Edwards, to a front office job, but his management style wasn't to everyone's liking. He ended up firing Vic Edwards, whose wife then called him the lowest form of humanity. So he did not make friends, but he won. He was a win at all costs kind of guy, and they did do very well, those Triangles from back in the day. Let's talk a little baseball, and I'll start it off with the player of the week from 1976. You think of him as basically winding down, and he was, but Hank Aaron, Milwaukee's 42-year-old designated hitter who had just 2 homers all season, walloped 4 and increased his career total to 751. He would hit only 4 more home runs in his Hall of Fame career. Bill, a couple of shortstops going at each other.
Yeah, it's Larry Bowa and Dave Concepcion. Larry Bowa knew was with the Phillies, Concepcion with the Reds. Bowa asked Concepcion one day, "Is your first name Elmer?" And Concepcion replied, "No, why would you ask that?" And then Bowa said, "Because every time I look at the box score, it says E. Concepcion." Making an error there.
Nice. Bowa always had a way of making friends with people.
Probably still does.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark?
Oh, my God. And I've told this story on the podcast, and they talk about it in this issue. So 1976, Minnesota came up with 2 wins and 7 tries, barely, okay? They were leading the Tigers 4-0 in the top of the 6th inning. Dave Goltz is then tagged for a single, double, 2 triples, a homer, and 4 runs. After those runs came across the plate, it starts to rain. Actually, the Twins had runners at first and second with 1 out. I will also remember that, which is not in this article. So it starts to rain, and it rains for so hard that they call the game. And back then, baseball had a rule: if you've passed 5 innings and it rains, the home team's in front, you revert back to the previous inning. So basically, the entire 6th inning gets rained out. They go back to the end of the 5th, and the Tigers lose the 4 runs and lose the game 4-0. And I cry BS on that. And they changed the rule since then. I was so upset because I knew the game was in Minnesota, and I knew once the rain was more than an hour long, the rain delay, that they were going to do this and take advantage of the rule. And that's ridiculous. If a team comes back and ties the game, you cannot revert to a previous inning. And at least baseball changed it. I was so mad. I was 16 years old. So I was in Chicago at the time. I could pick up the Tiger game on the radio, and we were at some friend or relative's house, and I'm listening to this game, and I'm so pissed. But there's one other baseball thing that's non-Tiger related I do have to point out, okay? And there is a baseball player on the St. Louis Cardinals, and he had never hit more than 266 in his 3 seasons, but he's having a great year. He hit 418 for the month. His batting average is up to 295. And the name of this player in the St. Louis Cardinals, which didn't mean a lot back then but means now, is Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember him.
Right. It was a good player, but when you say Mike Tyson now, no one's going to think of a baseball player.
No. Randy Jones silenced the Red Hot Phillies offense 5-0 for his 12th win, extending his streak of innings without a walk to 61. Man, that is some sort of control. He's on the cover in a couple weeks from now, but he is since deceased. But we're working on getting a former Padres broadcaster, Ted Leitner, to join us to talk about Randy Jones and his Cy Young award-winning season of 1976. Bill, tell us about the Olympic cycling trials.
Okay, former Olympian Jackie Symes has named the cyclists for the Olympic trial for the Olympic Games. It is Paul Deem, Roger Scarron, Ralph Terrio, which is an alternate, but these two guys are sort of familiar. You'll know them maybe. Roger Young and Jim Ochowicz. That is Sheila Young's future husband. Roger Young is her brother. Sheila Young being a guest on our show, an awesome woman. So she got to watch her future husband and her brother take part.
Very good. Nice. Yeah, she did all right.
She did all right for herself in speed skating and cycling.
Yeah, gold medal winner.
Yep.
One last hurrah in Hyannis. 9 years and 4 months after its birth, the ABA died at a meeting in Hyannis, Massachusetts, out on the Cape, with only 4 franchises, the Pacers, the Nuggets, the Nets, and the Spurs, surviving by paying $3.2 million each to join the NBA, while the league's 2 most vocal pro-merger owners walked away with roughly $3 million apiece in walk-away money. And just like that, the ABA is no more. 4 teams will join the NBA this coming fall.
What's different about this is, okay, in past when leagues have folded, like the USFL, the World League Football that was in the 70s, that was it. It was done. There was none of that translated over to the NFL. I mean, but there's a history where leagues fold and they have an impact on the other league. Like in the late 1950, it was like an American conference. There was a separate football league. And 2 of the teams from that league came over. I believe it was the Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers. And it affected the NFL. And then later when the AFL merged with the AFL, that was a true merge where every team merged together. But in the ABA, you have 4 teams that move over, and it directly affects the league. And, the Spurs just played in the NBA Finals. The Nets, the Nuggets, these teams are major factors. The Indiana Pacers were in the finals the year before. Major factors in the NBA. And then the three-point shot eventually moves over to the NBA. So the ABA might have only existed for 9 years, but its teams and its rules live on forever in the NBA.
Yep. ABA players, we wondered about how they would join the NBA. So the Knicks tried to leverage the Nets move into their market for the right to draft Artis Gilmore, but ultimately lost out, and the dispersal draft proceeded in simple reverse order of finish. So Chicago had the first pick, and they grabbed Artis Gilmore. So lot of great players from that ABA that would come over to the NBA. I'd like to see how that dispersal draft panned out, because you had, of course, Dr. J and some of those teams.
Didn't the Knicks try to circumvent the rules to get McGinnis?
Yes, they did.
All those Pacers.
Yeah. So some of those teams probably still had rights to players that the NBA had drafted years prior.
But here's something very interesting in the article. It says that Brown and Ozzie Silna, who were the owner of the new Utah club, which I guess was going to be called the Utah Rockies, and it was the Spirit of St. Louis. So I guess they were going to move to Utah, but then it folded. And they say they'll be paid about $3 million each in walk-away money. But the owners of the Spirit of St. Louis cut that deal where they got a percentage of future growth from the merchandising or whatever from the NBA. Didn't take any money up front, which ended up being the greatest business decision of all time. So I'm very interested in how that worked with how it's portrayed here in the article, where it's not even talking about the owners of the Spirit of St. Louis.
Yeah, well, because
St. Louis Spirits is a great name, though.
Isn't it?
That's a
No one
great
could have imagined how that was going to play out.
And in terms of the spirit of St. Louis, I'm sure Lindbergher is very happy that his plane lives on in infamy.
Lindbergher?
Not Lin, that's cheese.
Lindbergh.
Charles Lindbergh.
Okay. I didn't know
That Lindbergher guy
that
really
Lindbergher's
stinks.
still flying out there.
That
He's
Lindbergher
a hamburger.
stinks.
You meant a hot dog.
I thought it was Lynn Burger.
Burger.
Oh, to hell with you guys.
That's one of those where I'm like, well, I'm an idiot because I have no idea what he's talking about.
Well, I just didn't think
And you
I
know
thought,
what?
I mean, I don't know a lot about history, but I thought, Charles
You know what?
Lindbergh, didn't he get a baby taken from him and everything? And
You
now all of a
know
sudden he's
what?
eating cheese.
There are a lot of people that say to me, Mark, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
That might
I
be
knew what you were
why.
talking about. I just wanted to make sure I was right that it wasn't burger. I don't want to go into some conversation tonight, but man, that Charles Lindbergher, he's doing well. And Amanda Earhart's doing pretty good too.
Oh my God.
44 minutes. That's all it took to end the ABA. And while owners cashed expansion checks on their way out, well, for the players actually on the floor, it wasn't that simple. Our next guest lived it from both sides. The only man to lead both the ABA and NBA in rebounding, a UCLA product who went from Bill Walton's backup to a formidable force in both leagues. In some ways, he was the center of that merger chaos. Sven Naders, thanks for coming on Past Our Prime.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
Hey, Sven, when you look back at the ABA and your years in the league, what kind of memories do they hold for you?
Well, I backed Walton up in college, so I played about 2 or 3 minutes a game. We were on national television. Every game I think was televised and shown late at night. I think about 11:45 or so, around the country. So people saw me, and I had Coach Wooden was instrumental in getting me in the Olympic trials, even though I wasn't a starting center, and that was in 1972. And I led that camp in scoring and got sick. Couldn't join the team. I had to leave the team, but I got sick. But that was I got some notoriety there. People saw that I could play, and then at the end of my UCLA career, coach got me into the Pizza Hut All-Star game. They used to have all the best seniors in the country play a game in Las Vegas. And I was MVP of that game. So my stock went up, and Wayne Embry of the Milwaukee Bucks had an interest in me and wanted to sign me, and they drafted me. But in the ABA, the Miami Floridians drafted me. Now, Milwaukee had a center by the name of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I didn't want to go there for fear that I might put him on the bench and, I'd be the starting center. So I chose the ABA, and I signed for $100,000 a year for 3 years. I took $45,000 a year and deferred the 65, which I never got. I never got that money. When the leagues folded, I tried, and I've tried since with San Antonio, but nothing. So anyway, I signed with them, and I had a good career there right away. With the Floridians dissolved, and my rights went to the Virginia Squires, who had a player by the name of Dr. J, but he had moved on to New York. And so we had no team. We had a guy named Jim Eakins at center, and it wasn't long until I started doing well. And then Virginia traded me, or actually sold me to San Antonio for I think $250,000. San Antonio was a new team there. They had moved down from Dallas. They were the Dallas Chaparrals, moved down to San Antonio became the Spurs, and people had hardly seen basketball there, but they fell in love with it because right away when I came on, we started winning. And then George Gervin was purchased also from Milwaukee, and so he was a great scorer. Not much of a defensive player, but a really good scorer. and we were winning right away. So that was a great experience. Being in Milwaukee, I got traded to New York after a knee surgery. Ended up in Virginia again, and then we had the merger.
You mentioned the Miami Floridians, and then you start with the Virginia Squires, a team so cash strapped they sell you off as well. You choose the ABA over Milwaukee. Thank God for Kareem. And the NBA in the first place. Looking back, what was it about the ABA that appealed to you initially? And did that financial chaos early on give you a little pause?
Well, the financial chaos, as far as me not getting it deferred, was I never knew about that because that deferred would have come after my 3 years contract. So after that, I never got it. But I chose the ABA because I wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, I wanted to play. I didn't want to sit at the bench anymore, and I didn't.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned being Bill Walton's backup and not playing starting at UCLA. You never even played a single game of high school basketball. How instrumental, you've already told us a little bit, was Coach Wooden in letting you know not only, could you be playing, but you should be playing at a much higher level?
As far as professional, him.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he told me early on. In fact, when he recruited me, he said, "You have the body for a professional player." He said, "You could go to other schools," and I was recruited by many of the top schools, and get playing time. He said, "What I'm offering you is you're going to sit on the bench. You're not going to play a lot of minutes, but you're going to play against Bill Walton every day in practice and be coached by me." And he said, "I think I can get you ready for that next level."
It's amazing to think that, you went to UCLA and had this long NBA career, but you weren't born in this country. And I believe you didn't come to America till you were 9 years old and you didn't speak any English. What was that adjustment like?
Well, I had to learn all the cuss words in English first, and some of the kids in elementary school helped me with that. In fact, I was, I went into the fourth grade a week after I got here, right? And so I went into the fourth grade, and they put me in that class. Mrs. Rutgers was a teacher, and she was told that I didn't speak any English. I could say yes and no, and I remembered my address in case I got lost. And so a few days later, some of the kids in the playground, during recess, one of them says, "Do you want to really make the teacher happy? Say this word, and when I tell you to." And it was the F word, right? And I didn't know it. So sure enough, during math class or something, he winked at me, and I said the F word, and she says, "Oh, Swen, oh, Swen." And the kid's name that told me to do it was Ronaldo, right? So she said, "Oh, Swen, oh, Swen. Ronaldo, come with me."
She could see right through that.
So that was one of the first words I learned. But yeah, it was an adjustment. I learned very fast. I was reading fifth grade books by the end of the year. I was ahead in math by a whole year. So I was able to spend math class reading and I Dick and Jane and all that, and had a great teacher and good environment.
I mean, I think that work ethic that you must have had served you well because you have to go through that period of time as a backup. How important was your work ethic and being able to go from being a backup to being a starter?
Well, work ethic is one of the cornerstones of Coach Wooden's pyramid of success. It's called industriousness in the block, and the other's enthusiasm. I had both. I not being a rich kid and having in Holland to fight for everything. I was a fighter in school. I was, in the principal's office all the time. I was a bad kid, but I had to fight for everything, and I guess maybe that helped me. And then being behind Bill Walton, that helped me too. It was either quit, or go for it. And I loved the game, and I knew I had a chance, and I really wanted to be a Laker because when I was 15 years old, long before I picked up a basketball, I used to listen to the Laker games with Chick Hearn calling the play-by-play, and Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, Happy Hairston, Gail Goodrich, and I dreamed of it. And, it happened my last year. So I believe that I'm not afraid of hard work. I love hard work. It pays when you first start out. You make big strides when you work hard, right? And I believe basketball players are made in the driveway, not on the court. So I was always at a basket, just doing stuff and imitating Wilt Chamberlain with his finger roll or his fall-away jumper, which I never used. And Jerry West's jump shot, and over and over and over again. And when you get better and better, you spend an hour and you don't get much. The better you get, the less improvement you get. Larry Bird said that. Just one little inch, maybe one little thing, one little what they call a nettle in the jump shot. A little what finger does it roll off of, or how much follow through, or how much elevation. So I always loved working. I'm a magician right now. If anybody wants to, it's Swen,
yes.
Yep, swendini.com. I do magic shows.
Oh, wow.
And I get up at 3 a.m. every day, and I go through all my, I go through lots of stuff. And magicians are made one trick at a time, and basketball players are made one move at a time.
That's really funny because I live near Laurel Canyon, and you pass Harry Houdini's house all the time there as the musician. I got to ask you about that later on. But
have you been to the Magic Castle?
No, I want to go really badly. I really want to go.
They have a Houdini room there. Yeah.
Oh, I really love it. But
I think it disappeared.
But speaking of disappearing, so the ABA disappears, and to me, what's crazy is that the Virginia Squires had Dr. J, George Gervin, and you, and they sell them all, to other teams. You have great success with the Spurs. I think that's where people took notice of you. And then the Nets, and now you go to the NBA, to the Bucks. Could you tell right away the difference between the ABA and the NBA, and the stuff that the ABA brought over to the NBA, the three-point shot and other things? I mean, did it make the transition easier because there were like new rules that would eventually come over to the NBA that came from the ABA?
Here's an interesting thing about the merger. My Milwaukee had my rights, right?
Right.
Because of the draft. And so before this dispersal, where all the players were in a pool, and ABA players were in a pool, and the NBA teams would do the draft. I'll take him, I'll take him, I'll take him. I signed with Wayne Embry in Milwaukee, so I went where I wanted to go.
And there was no more Kareem.
No more Kareem. And then I ended up with the Lakers playing behind him my last year. Couldn't get away from him. But yeah, now being from LA and playing a lot of pickup basketball, I played against a lot of the NBA players during the summer. And also the ABA played preseason games against NBA teams. So, that was, so I knew that level, and I knew the difference was, the ABA usually have one superstar on a team, 2 if you're lucky. The NBA, there could be 3 or 4. So it's going to be better. And every center in the NBA was a challenge for me, right? I had to prove myself. So yeah, it was another level up, but I was used to that, right? I was always trying to get a level up. At UCLA, I was trying to get a level up to ABA, and then level up to the NBA. And then in the NBA, I wanted to level up to being the best rebounder in the game. And I think I was able to do that for a while.
Listening was it, I read a quote from Wooden said, "You're the best practice player he had ever seen." What was it like practicing against Bill Walton, and what did Walton teach you?
My first encounter with Bill was when I went to my first day at UCLA, which was about a few days before class started. Checked in the dorm. Bill checked into the dorm, and so we were going, and all the guys were going down to Poly, and we played a little pickup game. And I had the ball on the left side, and I saw an opening, and I took 2 dribbles, and and 2 steps, and I was cocked to dunk it, and Bill blocked my jump shot, my dunk. And that was my introduction to Bill. And it was that year he played on the freshman team, but he came over and played with us. But the next year I backed him up, and it was, I mean, I had to be quicker, I had to be smarter, and I had to become the best me, right? That's what Coach Wooden taught me. Don't try to be like Bill. Be the best Swen you can be. You're strong, you can jump, you can rebound, and so Bill and I had a lot of elbows flying back and forth, and words, but we became best friends.
And then if you just go forward a little bit back in the 80s, I think one of his last years, you guys were both with the Clippers. What was the difference between Walton then and what you knew at UCLA? And what was the difference with you as well?
Well, I was at the top of my game when Bill joined. He was, he'd had knee issues, I think ankle issues or whatever, and so he wasn't the same. He didn't have the quickness that he used to have. He was the quickest 6'11" I had ever seen, in every way, mentally, physically, emotionally, quick. Everything was, and the passing, I've never seen a passing center like that, ever. Better than Jokic. Oh, yeah. And it was, it was fun because Bill was actually playing the forward while I played the center, so he had never played the forward, and that really took a toll on his legs, having to defend out on the floor. So he was hurt again, but it was fun for a while.
So when you get to the ABA, obviously you win Rookie of the Year. You're known mainly for being such a great rebounder. What does it take, Sven, to be a good rebounder?
You got to make it a priority. Wilt Chamberlain told me, he said, every game I tried to get 1 rebound for every 2 minutes I played. He said, if I kept my eye on that, like at halftime stats, you can tell where you are. He said I was going to get a lot of rebounds. And he averaged, I think, 20 a game, right, for his career. And he averaged over 40 minutes. So that's what I did. Coach Wooden taught me 3 things. Assume every shot is missed, get your hands up, and go get the ball. Now, when you think about it, you watch the game, the reason a guy doesn't get a rebound that he should is because either he assumed the shot was going in, which happens, he didn't have his hands up, or he blocked out and he didn't go get the ball. You have to go get the ball. This is the most important one. Although without number one, assuming every shot is missed was really a key for me. I was watching and I knew that ball was going to go off, and I got really good at determining while the ball was still in midair what part of the rim it was going to hit. And knowing where to go. And that's an art, and you learn that through experience, And so I was there. Now, when you assume every shot is missed, you're going to the basket, right? Well, I had a way of getting around guys that blocked out, but in the NBA, these guys didn't block out that well. I would spin around him, and I would have the position that he should have had. And then I get the ball and put it back in. And you just keep at it. Defensive rebounding, I would simply get in the guy's way and just go get it. I didn't block out too much, unless it was in close and I had to, put my body on him. But it's more about hitting the guy and then going, right? So I always hit him in the chest when the shot was going up. And those guys would rarely make an effort to go to the board after that, especially if I hit him hard.
I love that.
Rookie cards of baseball, basketball, and football stars are iconic pieces of American history, and they have been outstanding investments over the last 50 years. Now, key issues of Sports Illustrated, professionally graded and encapsulated by CGC, have emerged as an exciting alternative to trading cards. ThePit.com is the leading online exchange for investment-grade sports magazines. General Manager Mark Humphreys offers Sports Illustrated first cover editions featuring stars like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Jeter, Ken Griffey Jr., and so many more. Mark Humphreys is an expert in the field of collectibles and the CEO of ThePit.com. And Mark, gotta think much like the March 15th, 1976 cover of Bill Veeck, the Maverick owner of the White Sox, this one with Bowie Kuhn on the cover in June of 28th of 76 isn't burning up the collectibles market.
Well, it's hard to be a beloved commissioner, even more than it's hard to be a beloved owner. Some owners are well liked, and I have to think, without knowing, that Bill Veeck, as much of a character as he was probably liked and even loved by some people in Chicago. But you're absolutely right that there is very little collector interest in commissioners, including Bowie Kuhn, who may have been a terrific guy, but collectors are not champing at the bit to get a hold of these. My expectation when I researched this issue was that I said, now, I'm sure no one has bothered to get one of these graded. But I was wrong. Actually, two of them have been graded by CGC. By grading, we mean professionally evaluated on a 10-point scale and encapsulated with a certificate announcing the grade. And the two that have been graded were at 6.5, which is a mid-grade level, and another at 7.5, which unfortunately has a note that it was restored. So there was some work done to it, and collectors really avoid those. Now, if you really want this issue, you can buy it because in graded form, because the 6.5, last time I looked, was available on eBay at $120 or best offer. But apparently none has ever changed hands in graded form. Subscription copies are available for $1.10 in quantity, plus shipping and handling on eBay. So even for a commissioner, though, there are people that are interested in obtaining autographed copies, and I noticed that there were a couple available on eBay, $300 or best offer with a respected certification, and $150 without.
Only ThePit.com offers competitive buy now and sell now quotes on graded magazines online, as well as many of the most popular modern PSA graded rookie cards, including Shohei Ohtani, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Nikola Jokic, and Steph Curry. Trade sports stars like stocks at ThePit.com. We're talking with Sven Nader, a figure from back in the days when the ABA and the NBA became one. Billy mentioned, Sven, that you were a great rebounder, and you're the only player to lead both the ABA and the NBA in rebounding. Does that feel like the defining statistic of your career, or is there something else you would want people to remember?
Well, I was also a scorer. I averaged over 12 points a game. So, about 12 rebounds and 12 points, double-double for my career. So I had a hook shot that was very accurate, right and left hand. I was always in the top 10 in field goal percentage. I think I led the ABA in field goal percentage one year. And so, I shot 500 hook shots a day. 250 with the left hand, 250 with the right hand, just going back and forth for years. And, just getting that touchdown and all that. And I could shoot it over anyone. Nobody ever blocked the hook, Kareem or anybody. So want to be remembered for that hook shot, but also an outlet pass. I was very good at the outlet pass. I was, being from UCLA, of course. You learn. If you get a rebound, you hold on to it longer than about a tenth of a second. Coach Wooden would yell at you. And he had a tough time getting Ralph Drollinger to let go of the ball, and they couldn't figure out how to do it because Ralph would hold it and hand it to somebody. It's probably high school. He was used to that because they were playing, pretty much half-court basketball with him being 7-1. But it's get rid of that ball and get an early one. You could see it in the series, New York against San Antonio, how New York won. I think they won. Of course, Brunson, is pretty damn good, but they realized that they didn't want to play a half-court game against a 7'4" guy that can block shots. So they played full court. They hurried. They tried to get the ball up before he can get there. And the guy got exhausted, right? And this is the same strategy that Bill Russell had against Wilt. He said, "I'm not playing Wilt a vertical game. I'm playing a horizontal game against him. We're going to run." And that's how. So that's I believe the outlet pass. And going back to the rebound, rebounding could be the most important statistic in the game. Could be the one that makes the difference because it gets you extra possessions and it keeps the other team from getting extra possessions. Now, if you put the fast break in that, and how much is a rebound worth? If you get an offensive rebound and you score, is that worth 4 points because you took 2 away from them? And I don't know, maybe. And what if you get fouled? Then you got 5 points. Or what if you kick it out and get a 3-pointer and he gets fouled? Now you got 7 points.
Yeah.
The rebound, like the turnover, right, is a huge, huge statistics because you want to have more possessions than the other team. And if you shoot the same percentage, you win.
I think you're psychic because when you were talking about the rebounding and anticipating where the ball's going to go, I thought of the OG rebound in that 29-point comeback. I don't know whether it was luck because the ball hit the rim and just went to where he was, or if he knew Brunson's shot was going to hit the rim and I'm going to position myself right in front of the basket to get it.
Yep. And Wemby was standing at the free throw line.
Yeah. Exactly.
He should have gone in and got that rebound.
Because you had a game in 1976 with the Bucks where you scored 30 points and had 33 rebounds in one game. So you were a scorer, you were a rebounder. So explain to me that success that you enjoyed so quickly with the Bucks and to be able to have performances like that.
When I joined the Bucks, Len Elmore? No, not who was the Elmore Smith was the center, and I came in and I had come off surgery, but I was in good shape. And Don Nelson ended up being the coach. Larry Costello was the coach first, right? Costello coached the Bucks, and Kareem, but he got fired, and Don Nelson, his assistant, took over. And Don pulled me aside and he said, "Swen Nader, you are 250 pounds worth of bullshit." He said, "You know what you could do? You come on the practice floor and you start throwing up all these crazy shots. Look at Bobby Dandridge. He's shooting his jump shot that he gets in the game. And he learned that from Oscar Robertson." He said, "As soon as you step on the floor, you get serious about your game and work on your game." And I said, "Okay." Okay. And so everything turned around from that moment on. And Lenny Elmore got traded. Elmore Smith got traded to Cleveland, and I was starting center. And I was rebounding. And that was the year that the All-Star game was there. The NBA All-Star game was in Milwaukee. Now, I think it was just a few games, or maybe the game before the All-Star, You guys got time for this story?
Oh yes, absolutely.
I was doing. I don't know if I got my 33 and 30 before the All Star or after, but we're playing against New York, and Lonnie Shelton is the center, and it's at Milwaukee. It's about 3 days before the All Star game. My wife's mother and grandmother, we flew them in, and the grandmother was 80, and her mother was like 55. They were in the stands. My first wife was in the stands, and I get 3 offensive rebounds, putbacks in a row against Lonnie Shelton. The coach, Hubie Brown, calls a timeout, and you can hear him yelling at Lonnie on the other end, just screaming at him. Play resumes, and one of my guys shoots a shot, and I go in for the rebound. And Lonnie, the way he blocked me out was he turned and faced me and punched me like this in the chest. Because his coach said, whatever you do, don't let Swen in there anymore. And so it was a fight. And I came after him, and he came after me, and I hit him with 3 jabs and about 8 rights, knocked him down on the ground. And then we're both on the ground, and his feet are by my head, and my feet are by his head. He's trying to kick me. They're trying to pull us apart. And my wife's grandmother comes out of the stands onto the floor with her purse and starts beating on Lonnie Shelton's head with her purse. Well, we both get kicked out of the game. And by both, I mean Lonnie and me, not my grandma. She was able to go back into the stands. And I got in the locker room, and in comes, the GM, Wayne Embry. He's a huge guy. And I thought he was going to kill me. And he went over and shook my hand. He said, "That was a great fight. I'll pay the fine."
Love that.
And so, I was rolling. I was able to play and rebound, and everything was starting to come together and play the way I should play.
Hey, Sven, you played alongside George Gervin and Dr. J and Kareem and some of the all-time greats. Was there ever one guy who genuinely made you feel like, what the hell am I doing on the court with these guys? That they were just so athletically gifted that they blew you away?
Well, if it's the same position, like Kareem, he dropped 40 on me one night. But he dropped 50 on Bill one night, so I'm okay. But Dr. J was, Dr. J told me, he said, I never use a move in a game that I haven't practiced 100 times before that. And that surprised you, right? Because it seems like he's improvising as he goes, but he isn't. When I was with New York, he was practicing a fake between the leg dribble. Because they had these hands, they're big. He'd put it between his legs, and then he'd bring it up. He was practicing that. He said, I'm going to use that one of these days. I think that'll fake him out. But he was a showman. People came to see him play. He was super intelligent, great guy, and extremely athletic, but he pleased the crowd. There was a ball that went out of bounds, that was going out of bounds on the defensive end, and he jumped after him. He was going to crash into the chairs. He grabbed it before his feet went out of bounds, and one of our guards was streaking down to the offensive end. Doc grabbed the ball with one hand and spun it down the court. It hit by the sideline, and because of the spin, took a left turn, went right into the guard's hand. He laid it up for layup. He would do stuff like that. It's just, and dunk behind his head on people. Gervin was like that, but Gervin was more, he was a great one-on-one scorer with great touch, and of course that finger roll. And of course I played with Magic Johnson, who's, gosh, what he does for a team in many ways is just incredible, right? He's just a great leader and a winner, I played against Bird. There's another winner. Well, Michael Jordan, to me, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, two greatest players in the history of the game. I mean, you could say Bill Russell because he won 11 championships, but if I were going to start a team, I'd pick one of those two guys. It was a pleasure playing with a lot of great players. Just a pleasure.
What, just because you just mentioned him, because I think Larry Bird gets underrated nowadays. Michael Jordan still does not. What made Larry Bird so great in your eyes?
Who was the great hockey player that played for the Kings? The great one.
Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky said, "I never play the puck where it is. I always play it where it's going to be." Larry Bird always played the ball where it's going to be. He was always 1-2 steps ahead. That was one. And he was more athletic than people thought, especially with the hands. Larry Bird was like Michael at a competitive level where he would not only win the game, but he would win against a certain player. He was into beating, humbling, embarrassing players. Michael did it. You know, right? You say something about Michael, like there was one guy, I don't know who it was, he said, "Well, I'm going to stop him." That's all Michael wants to hear. And you just pick this game up another level or two. Those guys are like that. And they just know how to beat you.
You talked a little bit about going with the Lakers. I know you loved them, obviously. You said growing up. What was it like that first time you put on that uniform?
Oh, man. I didn't like it because it had the number 41. I was always number 31, and Rambus already had it. Well, yeah, it was, I guess they call it surreal. I was finally a Laker after dreaming about it. And to be on that team for a year was really great.
Hey, Sven, once you went from the ABA to the NBA, what was the biggest difference between the two leagues?
Well, we talked about that, right? More superstars, higher level of competition. Every night I was playing against a guy that if I was not on my game, I'd get killed. And I had to figure out how to play against Kareem, Bob Lanier. And then you had some of the guys that were smaller, like Cowens. He was tough to play against. And Alvin Adams for the Suns. God, he's a forward. I had to guard him out there, or he'd score. And they're quicker than I. So, yeah, it was every night was a test, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, you're wearing your LA Clippers jersey on right now that people aren't watching it.
Well, it was a free shirt they gave me. The Clippers and the Bucks give me free shirts.
Okay. Well, you're one of the rare players that played for both the Clippers and the Lakers, even though the Clippers were in San Diego when you were with them.
Yeah.
And I believe, weren't you and Byron Scott? Wasn't you and Byron part of that trade that went from the Clippers to the Lakers?
Yep.
So, and then so your whole life, you start at UCLA, you back up Walton, then you get traded to the Lakers, then you back up Kareem, and you all have that UCLA connection. Do you feel sometimes life is this, there's nothing that's for chance, like there's some things you're destined to do, I guess?
I guess maybe. Because, Jamal was on that Laker team too.
Yeah.
Jamal Wilkes. So,
That's right.
yeah, it was great playing with him. He's a great guy. I still talk to him.
Lightning strikes as answers try. Buzzers recount in the air. Trivia time, truth or dare.
Because you talked about being a magician and your love for magic, I had to find a magic question for you, okay?
Okay.
Had nothing to do with Magic Johnson. So true or false? UCLA has a magic program.
Oh. You mean as a curriculum, part of the curriculum?
I get maybe it could be curriculum or it could be just like a club sport. Think of it as a club sport or something like that.
False.
True. They have something called MIST. It's the UCLA's Magic and Illusion student team, and they do a spring showcase at Ackerman every year.
Why wasn't I told about that?
I know. I think they need
I've
to go
done
invite you.
magic.
You
I've done
need to
magic
go
at
there.
UCLA in the classroom. I've done magic for Karen Given, who does the wooden course over there, and nobody ever said anything. Okay.
Okay, I will send you the information so you can
Okay.
say, you need to tell UCLA I need to be
Yeah.
at this thing.
Yeah.
Son, I got to ask you, because we're talking about being a magician. How did you get into that? When did you start?
I started about 10 years ago when I went to the Magic Castle. And my wife has a friend that's a member, so we got in. And I told my wife when we walked in there, I said, I'm going to get addicted to this. This is the next thing I'm going to do. Yeah. You guys want to see magic?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I don't know if you can. Let me get
Yeah,
that.
I was hoping you were just going to send me some money, but that's
Yeah.
all right.
Well, in a way,
That first pay.
I'm going to send it electronically. What do I have here?
Dollar bill?
Two $1 bills.
Yeah,
Two $1 bills. Well, let's see the other side. That's all I got. Two $1 bills, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm going to fold it.
Okay.
Fold them and fold them. And then fold it one more time. You got this?
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to grab some magic pixie dust,
Okay.
which is up in the air. You
Okay.
can't see it. And I'm going to sprinkle it on there like this.
Okay, yep, I see it.
Okay.
I see
You
it.
see it? All right. I'm going to unfold it.
And it's a $2 bill.
And I've got a $2 bill.
Oh my God. I got a 20. Can you do that with my 20?
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Answer is no. So I'm going to fold it up again and some more pixie dust
Okay.
just to speed it up. And I'm back to two
Wow.
$1 bills.
Wow.
Wow. This is going on social media.
Man, that's
All right.
fantastic.
Wow.
So the first time you do something like that and you pull it off,
Yeah.
I mean, are you like, holy crap, I can do this?
Yeah. I love well, I've been an entertainer since I started playing basketball.
Right.
So I love entertaining. I just did a kid's birthday party, 10, 11, 12-year-old. It was a challenge, but because there's that age they're going, I know what you did. I saw that.
Yeah.
They didn't see anything, right? But
Yeah.
oh yeah, my dad does that, So, but I do a lot of assisted living organizations, buildings. There's a memory assisted living here close by that I just recently put on a show for.
But Sven,
Yeah.
what's the crowd's reaction when a 7-footer or over 7-footer comes out to do magic?
Well, I'm the tallest magician in the world. If you look on swendini.com, that's my website. And yeah, it's I do a lot of things that incorporate basketball stuff in it, because that's what people want to hear, right? They want to see that. But yeah, the height does help, I think. And the fact that they already know me, they know that I'm a professional. There's a trust there. I don't have to prove myself. It's a trust.
I thought your biggest trick was being the only NBA first round pick ever to have not started a college game, but I got to tell you, the two $1 bills tops that big time.
I appreciate it. All right.
Hey, Sven, thank you so much.
All right.
That's
You're welcome,
great.
guys.
We really appreciate your perspective. So thanks for joining us today.
All right, you guys. Take care and call me anytime.
Sven Houdini Nader, everybody.
Swendini.
Swendini, swendini.com. There you go. Smokin Joe burns out in his first fight since the Thrilla in Manila Joe Frazier decides to go up against George Foreman at the Nassau Coliseum. Foreman knocks him down twice in the final round, a result so decisive that Frazier announces his retirement on the spot. Bill, Smokin Joe comes into this heavyweight fight heavy.
Well, yeah, I mean, balding, overweight. He was more than 9 pounds heavier than any previous fight he had taken part in. So things didn't go real well for him. And also, he had been beaten pretty badly by Foreman a few years prior to that.
And what I find stunning about this is, I mean, we have, anytime there has been a big fight, it is either on the cover or way high up in the magazine. So as you're thumbing through this, and I just see this thing that says boxing, and then I read it, and I'm like, Frazier and Foreman fought in this issue? I mean, this would have been high drama between two of the biggest heavyweights of all time. As it turns out, it is basically Joe Frazier's final fight. He would make a comeback 4 or 5 years later, and fight to a controversial draw against a guy by the name of Floyd Cummings, who had just come out of prison. So not a great ending for Smokin Joe, but yeah, Foreman and Frazier, you would have thought this would have been pretty built up.
But Scott, you mentioned it as well, that even the merger thing should have been a bigger thing.
Right?
The merger and Foreman, either one of those could have been on the cover other than Bowie Kuhn.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like they missed the boat on that one.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting thing about Frazier. Didn't realize he only fought 37 times. I thought he fought so much more than that, And he's only lost 4 times in his career, and there were 2 fighters.
And like his last 4 fights, basically, too.
But also remember with Frazier was an attacker. So he was taking a lot of punishment. So I think sometimes, even though he didn't have a lot of fights, it wasn't like he was a bob and weaver or sat back. No, he was in there getting hit by every fighter. He could just overpower him with his left hook.
Foreman's now living on his Texas ranch, waiting for a shot at the Ollie Norton winner, which he would never get. And that ranch had quite a circus of animals there, Billy.
He did. Well, he gets back to his Texas ranch where he has his Appaloosas, his Tennessee walking horses, obviously, hounds, a lion, a tiger, an English bulldog named Leroy, a Doberman, and 9 German shepherds. There you go. He just needs a bear and he'd be right there.
Wow.
Lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Man.
It's a lot of, it's a lot of animals.
For sure. Final thing in the magazine this week is called After the Nightmare. It's a look back at the 1972 Munich Olympics. As we mentioned, the 76 Summer Games are about to take place in Montreal. The first Summer Olympics since the 1972 Games in Munich, in which the Black September gunmen killed 11 members of the Israeli delegation. Some of these Israeli athletes from 72 are trying to get back in form for 76. As you can imagine, though, not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, Esther Roth, I want to make sure I get it right. Shahamarov. She had qualified for the 100-meter hurdles in 1972. Unfortunately, her coach, Amitzer Shapiro, was murdered along with 10 other Israeli team members. So she withdrew from the Olympics and returned home with her coach's body. It affected her so much what it would any of us. She did not put on track shoes again for 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And I remember to this day, I watched that whole thing unfold in 72. It was the second week of the Olympics, and turned it on, and there was no activities. It was all, these masked gunmen holding, these Israeli athletes, hostage. And the fact that it ended so badly too was just so shocking. And then perhaps the most shocking of all was they decided to continue the games after that.
And made a household name of Jim McKay.
Yep.
Yeah,
the ABC announcer, sports guy who basically announced to the world that they were all gone.
Yeah.
Not an uplifting, doesn't have to be uplifting. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that.
It's part of the magazine.
But yeah, an interesting read about some Israeli athletes that were continuing to struggle with what had happened 4 years prior.
Come down the stretch they come.
For the record, Bill, Steve Meyer, tell us about him.
Well, Steve Meyer, Mark should know this as he spends a lot of time there. He was a University of New Mexico quarterback. He was MVP of the Coaches All-American game. Then he goes to Seattle in 1977. Now, mind you, Steve Meyer did not have an amazing career, but he did throw 6 touchdown passes for the Seahawks in 77. 3 of them went to Steve Largent, and he also had a 4-touchdown game against Tampa Bay, and he was with the Seahawks for 2 more years, never threw another touchdown. But what a great little memory for him and for family to think, yeah, this guy did play in the NFL, did have some success, and obviously knew how to throw to a Hall of Famer.
Wow, 4-touchdown game back then was a big deal.
It sure was.
And remember, when you talk New Mexico, make sure you separate your Lobos from your Aggies. Or
I will not go that route, Mark. I'm staying in my lane.
Yes, you're going to get if you, because the Lobos are New Mexico. That's Michael Cooper. That's in Albuquerque.
Okay.
And New Mexico State are the Aggies, and that's in Los Cruces. And you have to fly into El Paso to get to Los Cruces.
And you have to go down the 15, right?
Yeah.
No.
23?
You take the 10. If you take the 10 to Los Cruces.
Okay. Because I know there's some beautiful.
The 15 is
beautiful
if you want to go into Idaho or Utah,
Yeah, I don't want to
Montana.
do that. No. I don't do the Vandals.
Mark, you got a quarterback to talk about as well.
I do. Joe Gilliam, who at one time looked like he might be the quarterback for the Steelers of the future, present, past, and future. Not Terry Bradshaw, but Gilliam, had problems off the field and on the field, and the Steelers finally said, we've had enough. And in 1976, they cut him. When he was the starting quarterback with the Steelers, they were 4-1-1 at the beginning of the 74 season. But he got replaced by Bradshaw, and, the rest is history. He got demoted to 3rd string, and he'd been fined for missing team meetings. Like I say, a lot of off-the-field stuff, possessing cocaine, carrying a weapon, reckless driving, It derailed what could have been a promising football career.
Yep.
Yeah.
He would never play in the NFL again. He would battle drug problems for much of the rest of his life and died on Christmas Day 2000 at the age of 50 from an overdose. So a sad ending for Joe Gilliam, that's for sure.
Faces in the crowd.
Mark, you got Judy Warren in the faces in the crowd?
Yes, I do. She's a senior at Warsaw. She averaged 20.7 points, 7 assists, 5 steals, led her team to a 20-0 record, and she is the state basketball championship. She is named Miss Basketball for the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Game. In fact, I think she is the first Miss Indiana in the history of the state of Indiana, which we know is so important to basketball. She, grew up, lived in Indiana, everything. She gets inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame in 2022. She was a coach for a while, did high school basketball coaching, and she was also a teacher for a while. But Judy Allen, the first Indiana Miss Basketball.
Judy Warren.
Yep.
Billy, Vicky Cook, who's she?
Yeah, Vicky Cook's a 12-year-old runner from Northridge, California. She set AAU records in the 880 yards in the mile. She eventually, Mark should have known this, went to UCLA, where she was a 1980 Olympic trials qualifier. She's been involved with track and field for more than 50 years.
Wonderful. Look at that.
Good job, Mark, on your UCLA people.
Oh,
Well,
man.
there's only like 30 or 40,000 people there, so.
Yeah, well, she...
Just a few. I don't want excuses.
Cheer for one more. The 19th hole is open for law.
19th hole. Bill, take us home.
Sean McCaffrey from Camden, Arkansas says 2 world records were broken in track. Earl Bell broke the pole vault record, and you just put him in for the record. A few days later, the high school jump record was broken, and it gets a cover story. Please, can't we have a little bit more fairness?
Oh, man, one gets a cover and one barely gets a mention.
Yes.
Sean is not pleased in Camden,
Not to take it
Arkansas.
anymore.
No, he needs to start a petition.
Yeah, come on. Earl Bell, he did a great job in the pole vault record, getting that pole vault record.
And look, we've never basically heard of him until now. Thank God for Sean McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, our social media platforms are now all in sync.
They are. They're all at Past Our Prime 50, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then what is it on YouTube? It's Past Our Prime SI. Past Our Prime 50 across all your social media sites, minus YouTube, which is Past Our Prime SI.
And I just love the interview we had with Swen and the magic tricks and stuff. But the one thing I'm now upset at myself is apparently Swen is a really good singer. And we've had singers on the show, and we'll have to get him back on because I need to hear him sing. Oh. And also, he worked for Costco. There's got to be some great Costco stories. He was an assistant buyer at Costco.
And I remember what he said. He said, anytime you want me, give me a call. I'm always here for you.
Yep. Right. So we need to have him back on.
Yeah.
We need to get some
singing. I think there'll be many opportunities coming.
Singing and samples.
Yeah, singing, samples, and then he can make it all disappear.
That's our look back at the June 28th, 1976 issue of Sports Illustrated with Bowie Kuhn on the cover, highlighted by the end of the ABA as we discussed with our guest, Swen Nader. That Bruins connection once again coming in handy. Thank you again, Swen Dini. We'll see you next week. For Bill and for Mark, I'm Scott, and we are Past Our Prime.